This is great content, this, watching someone do the ironing. Welcome to the Corner Plot. My name is Helen and I make videos about sewing. I have an allotment that I'm learning to do, making furniture, digging ponds and all manner of nonsense. Essentially, whatever interests me. Today, we are being a little bit ambitious. We have a series of patterns and projects and things that I want to, if not do today, then start thinking about today. I have a lovely piece of Harris tweed, which is this absolutely beautiful, beautiful colour. Greens and browns and blues and greys and all sorts in here, and I really love it. And I've had it for a long time. I have this bit and I have this bolt. It's not very wide because of course it's all hand woven on, I assume, quite a small loom. So I have this lovely fabric that I really want to do something with. And I had thought that I would make a skirt because it'll be nice and warm for that, interlined with some blue cotton that I've got. However, looking at the size of it, I have less of it than I thought I did. I'm going to draft a pattern for a full-length skirt, and then I'm going to have a look at that pattern and see how long of a skirt I could make out of the tartan. This is, oh god, this is from tudorlinks.com. It's a free pattern available on their website. I'll try and find the link and add it to the description. They have a lot of patterns. Most of these, and some that I have here as well, are all Tudor Links. There are two patterns for skirts that I like the look of. There's the Tudor Links one, which has the option for 3, 5 and 7 gauze, so you can have whatever fullness you want really. And I was wanting perhaps the 5 gauge skirt. And there's also this, which is the Keystone Jacket and Dress Cutter book, also available for free online because free is my favourite price. And this is shows you how to draft a walking skirt, which is the one that Bernadette Banner uses in her video. She does both a full-length walking skirt and a just below the knee walking skirt as well, which look amazing. So check those out because they're good. And that's really the inspiration for this. But I've never drafted a pattern before. Both of these require you to draft a pattern. So that's something that I will be doing. So I'll draft the pattern, have a look at the pattern, and see how much of that I can get out of the tartan. And I want to have a go at making a flat cap as well. But that will require multiple mock-ups. That's going to be a whole process. I also have a large amount of this cotton. By large amount, I mean 10 meters. I will at some point go back to IKEA and get myself more of this fabric, but in the white and the black, and possibly the lighter blue, just because it's there and it's £2 a metre. And they have fabrics that go up to, I think, £7 per metre. And they have cottons and linens. They also have some polyester. So do double check if you're going down there that you're getting what you think you are. 2 days ago, I went to a reenactors fair. Amongst all of the other gorgeous things, they had a lot of fabric, which I was very tempted by. These beautiful natural fibres. So you've got linens of every delicacy, you know, the finest ones that you can see your hand through. Beautiful wool, absolutely stunning wool. And I looked at it and I was so tempted to buy some because it was £10 a metre, £15 a metre, which is very good for wool. The reenactors market's still on today and I'm very tempted to go back just for some wool, but I don't know what to make with it. So if I make mock-ups and I can then make patterns, I can then say to myself, right, what fabric do I want to use for this, and move forward. I have a tendency to miss steps and jump ahead, and I should try not to do that in this case because it's only going to cause problems. I'm going to draft these patterns. If I can draft them and make a mock-up of at least one of them today, I will be happy. I have a lot of projects today. Sewing takes a lot longer than you think it will. And there's so much mess. I've just vacuumed, and just in moving this cotton about, I'm finding bits. I did all of my measurements working through the Keystone jacket and dress cutter guide. I've got this lovely image of a rather fancy looking lady with all of the different measurements on there. So I've already put all of those down, so I don't need to remeasure myself. So I'm just running through the measurements for drafting the pattern, which is very handily given here. So A to B, 1/8 of the waist measurement. This is the front panel on the fold of the skirt, and the actual waistband sort of curves like that around the front. So the centre is slightly lower than crosswise. D to E is twice C to B. C to B being half of the width of the front panel is 1/8 of the waist measurement. So the front panel itself is 1/4 of the actual waist measurement. And then it's got C to D being the length of the skirt, and D to E the bottom of the skirt, and things like that. So from your own measurements, you can then extrapolate out what it's, what the actual measurements are to make it.
These instructions weren't too difficult to follow in the end, just took some getting used to, so it's definitely a good one to start with if you've not done this before. Marking out with white chalk on dark fabric was quite handy, and doing the seam allowances.
This is great content, this, watching someone do the ironing. How about that then? Right, so I've got her all pinned together, and now I'm just going to start sewing the seams, but I need to work out where the placket is going and where the pocket is going. Pockets, 2 pockets. And the pockets are going to have to be slightly towards the back of the skirt. So I'm going to put them on this seam and this seam, this being the back seam, where the placket's going to go. Now, I've never put a placket in before, so that's going to be interesting. And I don't think I've ever put pockets in either. So that's going to be interesting as well. The pockets, I'm not going to put them up here. I'm going to sew up here down to where the sort of the hips are, where the skirt starts to spring over the hips. And then I'm going to sew the pockets in here. I just need to figure out how that's going to happen on a sewing machine turned by hand, where I can only really hold the fabric with one hand while I'm turning it. So this may be interesting. I have run out of thread on my bobbin, so I'm going to thread some more.
Each seam has one panel on the bias and one panel on the grain, which helps stop it from stretching, apart from the back panel, which is both bias.
Right, so that's the skirt all sewn up, apart from a little area for the pockets to go into, which I'll probably do by hand because I cannot work out how to do it via the sewing machine where it doesn't look completely stupid. So now I'm going to put the waistband on. So I'm going to pin it all the way around and then sew it on, and then I will press it over, fold it, and probably whip stitch it down because
why not? And then of course we get here. Now what I could do, because the waistband actually goes round twice, I could sew the placket to the waistband. However, I thought to myself, oh, I've got to leave room for the waistband. So I sewed the placket a little bit lower than the top, which I don't know that I can be bothered to unpick that. So I'm just going to leave it like that, and I may whip stitch that to the top of the waistband or something, I don't know. I'll figure it out when I get there, it's fine. Now I've tried it on without the corset and I've tried it on with the corset, and I actually can't really tell much difference. The waist closure overlaps significantly. I'll show you here. This is the placket here, which is meant to close here. However, it doesn't. So there's some kind of issue with the measurements there. All in all, I think it actually falls quite nicely. The pockets are way too far back. I think I probably would take those pockets out. I don't know where I'd end up putting them, because these seams is too close to the front. Those seams are too close to the back. Unless I put one on the back, I don't see how I can have pockets unless I do pockets over the top, which actually would help smooth this out a bit. If I had pockets sort of here as patch pockets. That's a possibility. Of course, with the thicker fabric as well, it might drape slightly differently. The length's about right. This is with the hem allowance, and it just touches the floor. So I was wanting it to be an inch or two above floor level. So actually that's about right, because I want an inch of hem. So yeah, I need to double check my measurements, because I know what I've done. The pattern has the front panel be 1/8 of the width, and then each of the 4 panels, other panels, are 1/4 of your width. So you've got 1 1/8 of your waist measurement around. So there must be pleats or gathers at the back. Otherwise that doesn't work. How did I not notice that when I was drafting it? Anyway, so I'm going to go upstairs and have a look in the long mirror and just double check that it's how I like it, because I'm quite happy with it. I also think that given the amount of material I used and the amount of material I have, I could possibly fit it on the tartan, but I will have to piece some bits. But if I'm being historically accurate, piecing is fine, because piecing is period. So I shall see what I see with that. All in all, it's not too bad. So I was going to just use this skirt as a mock-up skirt, and when I put it on and wore it for a little while, I realised how comfortable it was and how much I actually liked the way it lay, that I decided, actually, I'm going to make it into an actual skirt. It was quite warm yesterday. It was quite a mild day yesterday. It's quite warm enough to wear, but I think it's probably going to make quite a nice sort of summer skirt to wear. So rather than waste the fabric, I've decided to have it as a nice summer skirt. Now when I say waste the fabric, I was originally going to use this fabric, if it fitted nicely, just use this fabric as interlining on, or flat lining on my actual tweed skirt. However, it occurred to me that I hadn't pre-washed my fabric, so that's what I'm doing at the moment. I don't know if you can hear in the background the washing machine going. So I'm pre-washing the rest of my cotton fabric so that I can then use that to interline and flatline, my tartan skirt. So while that's washing, I thought I'll finish this skirt off. I need to finish the hems. I don't want any stitches showing on this side of the hems, so I'll probably fold them under themselves and then just do a running stitch along, just to give a bit of protection from them fraying, which I should have done before I did the waistband, but I didn't, so there. And the waistband itself, I'm sewing this bit to the actual fabric underneath rather than the front of the skirt, so that the stitches do not show. Partially because I want it to be nice and neat, but also partially because I've got black thread and blue fabric, and it does show a little bit because I don't have any blue thread that would actually match this fabric, which I didn't think would be important until I started making things out of it, as it was going to be just mock-up fabric. But now I want to make a shirt, and I want to make drawers, and I want to make all sorts, and actually on the drawers it doesn't really matter if the threads show, because it's only going to be a very select number of people who will get to see that, i.e. me and my partner, hopefully, unless I fall over and flash the world. But yes, so I'm just going to finish that off now. I'm nearly at the end of it, and that will be that. Oh, I put pleats in the back, so I did actually. There's a lot of loose threads because I'd been lazy and sewn this down top stitch, and actually I really disliked the way it looked. So I unpicked the whole thing, and now I am putting it back. But I've put pleats in the back, so once I finish this, I'll pop it on, check the fit, and hopefully the very large placket will hide any of my sins. I should be using a smaller needle than this, but my needles are all the way over the other side of the room and I was feeling lazy, so I'm just using a big needle, which makes it a bit more difficult to push through the fabric. I have waxed my thread using this lovely piece of real beeswax that I got at the reenactors fair, so you can see where I've just been using that. That makes it, waxing your thread makes it so much easier to do a bit of hand sewing, because, not because it draws through more easily, but because it doesn't tangle. The thread doesn't tangle, which is an absolute bloody godsend.
So this is the finished skirt. I'm really happy with the way it's turned out, which is why I've finished it as an actual garment rather than a mock-up, because now I can just wear it as an everyday item of clothing. So what I've done is I've done the waistband around double width, so that it crosses over at the back, so that that overlaps nicely on the placket, and then I can just tighten it as much as I like, or have it nice and loose and wear it just around the house every day. And also the benefit of this, the main benefit of this, is I don't have to sew in any sodding hooks and eyes, which are not fun. Things I have learnt from doing this pattern. Sew your seams from the waistband first down to the floor, because the top has to be more precise than the bottom. The top is more shaped, you've got a little bit of darting in the top here, and then it sort of flares outwards, and that has to go smoothly around the waist. If you start your seams from the top and work your way down, those will always match up, and the bottom you can just hem and sort out at the end of it all. Historical patterns will not hold your hand. They will not tell you every single step of the way. They will not, for example, tell you that the back of a skirt needs to be pleated or gathered, because they will assume you know this. The historical patterns will assume that you wear skirts and you know roughly how they are constructed. I do not wear skirts. I do not know roughly how they are constructed, and therefore this was a bit of a learning curve for me. However, having done it now, what I want to do is make my tweed skirt out of a 5 gauge skirt, because I do have enough fabric for it. And I also want to make a 7 gauge version of this skirt in a fabric that I've fallen in love with. So I'm really actually feeling quite positive about this whole experience. It's been a learning curve. I have learnt something. I hope either you have learnt something or you've at least enjoyed watching me getting very confused and learning something myself. Thank you very much for watching, and I will be getting on to doing my tweed skirt post haste.